Hello, and welcome to the podcast There Are No Good Games, where we discuss our opinions on past, present, and future games, as well as a whole load of other filler to keep us sane while we wait for a good game to play. Let's begin.
Right, we're now recording. Hello, Oliver. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Tristan. It's another week.
Yep.
After the last podcast, we've had some feedback. I took it all positively, and I ignored everything negative they said about my game idea. So
I mean, yeah.
we'll move on from that. But I'm good this week. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely fair. I was going to say we've had quite an interesting week, I would say. Holistically, there's been a couple of fun introductions. There's been some fun news updates and stuff like that, which I think we're looking to discuss in the podcast. I'll kick off first with the most important thing, which I assume you have a very good take on, which is GTA 6 has been delayed.
Well, yes. I mean, to be honest, I don't see it as being delayed personally.
Okay.
I see it as it was always going to come out next year. So I don't really. To me, I think anyone who thought it was actually coming out this year was absolutely deluded in every sense of the word.
But what about the people who've timed their children being born so they can get 3 months off to play GTA? What are they going to do?
No, because, the classic saying, something before GTA 6, had a child before GTA 6.
Oh, okay.
That's actually an improvement for them. To be honest, this wasn't the biggest news I thought you were going to talk about, to be honest with you.
What
I thought it was big.
What news did you think I was going to talk about?
Well, at the time of recording of the podcast, within the next hour, 45 minutes,
Okay.
Among Us 3D comes out. So I thought, that was pretty big.
Where is this
Among
dropped?
Us 3D. It's coming on Steam, today in less than an hour. The normal time is 6 p.m. for most of these games.
Are you saying that we're going to come back to Among Us 3D in VR?
I'm not, well, it's
Among
not
Us
VR,
3D
it's
VR
3D.
or just Among Us 3D?
No, VR was before. VR was years ago now.
Okay.
This is 3D. This is like the 3D version of the game. Like, people can actually play it.
Oh, I can see this now. Yeah. So,
the only saving grace of this, I just want to point this out, is massive, is if it's got built-in voice chat. If it doesn't, waste of time. No point even come out.
I think it will have to, won't it? Because otherwise it's just not going to work, right?
Yeah, I mean, it does work with the other VR game, but it's not, just to make this clear, it's not a VR game. You have to buy the VR game if you want to do it.
So you have to buy the VR game to play the 3D game?
No.
Okay.
You can play with people who have the VR game.
Okay.
It's cross-play functionality.
Okay.
But there is, apparently, looking at it now, there is a built-in voice chat.
Yeah, I was just going to say that just to see if you're so...
public lobbies, which there was in the VR version, and obviously in the main version as well, and there's built-in voice chat, this could be the return of Among Us once again.
Are you saying that you want us to go back into the spaceship? You want us to gaslight our
I'm
friends?
not suggesting we go back. We talk about a lot on this podcast, and most of the games we talk about, we never play. So, or we do play, disappointingly.
I think we should bring it back. No?
I'm not so sure this is you want us to bring back... Look.
I want to customize my B-Sona.
So I think the original one was like less than £8. It was like £6 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was expensive. It probably was less than that, actually. So if it's like, let's say, I mean, they're probably going to upcharge this slightly, I would have thought. Let's say £12.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think.
Well, I'm looking at the VR price, and that's like 10-ish.
Okay. So probably, £8 to £10 then. That's my, I mean, the VR was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Inflation, maybe since then. So yeah, maybe. I mean, it depends. Are people really want to go back to Among Us? I think Among Us did well because of COVID. And
yes, it definitely did.
People really, and people play the VR game because there's no VR games. So, might as well play something, right? So, yeah, I don't know.
I think it's got potential to do well, but I think you've articulated it very well, which is it was very good during COVID, and that was kind of it, right? I think it could be fun. It'll probably be the flavor of May, and then that'll be it. But I don't see it really doing anything else.
Yeah, I mean, Potentially. I mean, the flavor of May is probably like some other game, to be honest. But
Yeah, there's
but this is
Expedition
definitely
33 or something weird.
that.
Yeah.
Was that April? I think that was April. I mean, people are playing it because it was the end of April into May.
Yeah, Claire
It
Obscura.
came out around the same, just the day after Oblivion. So
Yeah.
yeah. So, but that type of game is not for everyone, to be fair. But yeah, I can maybe Among Us 3D could be the biggest news of the month for sure. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they, like you said, where they price point it at. Well, my bet's 10, yours is 12, which is going to be interesting. And then it's going to be interesting the reception and how it's going to play going forwards. I don't know if people are going to like it or if they're just going to, if it's going to be dead or how it's going to land, honestly.
I think, the thing is, if you want to play with friends, you got to have enough friends. You got to have at least I feel like 6 to 8. 8 is ideal. 6 is probably doable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's public lobbies you have to go for.
Well, I think we talked about this a couple of weekends ago with another friend slash podcast colleague. He said he was playing it and played public lobbies, and he spent the entire time just getting gaslit and people going like, it's blue, and that'd be it. It'd be like gang mentality of voting people out before they even know it, which is crazy.
But that was like voice chat, though. Like, to be honest with it, I never really understood the public lobby, the text chat. Sorry, like I never really understood that because you just hardly any communication. I can see you typing, it's red
It's
and
blue.
electrical, but I feel like the voice is really important. Like it makes Among Us when we, that's why it worked with like private lobbies is people
I
were in
agree.
Discord and it worked much better. So maybe this is the revival of public lobbies, and I'm sure streamers will go back to it, no doubt. And Among Us, the company who made it, they're going to make some more money for sure.
I think there's a lot to be
yeah.
unpicked on Among Us. Like, I'd be interested to do a couple of like case studies or like trying to do new strats and tactics and stuff like that. It'd be kind of interesting to work how to do it. But yeah, I think it's probably got a limited shelf life, realistically, unless there's another pandemic around the corner. But I think the initial Among Us sat there for about two and a bit years before it actually got picked up.
Yeah, I mean, but that was, but we're not, that's slightly different from a new game completely to now, which is a remaster, right?
Oh
This
god,
is a remaster,
it's
isn't it?
another remaster.
This is the third remake of Among Us,
No.
carrying on from last year's chat.
Why is the year just
Last
full of remakes?
podcast,
Yeah, I was going to say 2018 November, and then Among Us 3D came out 10th of November 2022, and then 2025 for this one, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So VR was ages ago. So.
It'd be interesting to see what happens, actually. Especially, do you think they're going to do in-game cosmetics again? Because it's now paid for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, they had it. Obviously, that's what they had last time in the main one.
Yeah, but you had to pay for it, or was it like you had to work for it? Because I remember...
No, you got some. You got some for free.
Okay.
It was, I mean, I think you could buy you whatever. I think on mobile, as they probably had microtransactions, but for PC, you pretty much had all of them.
Yeah, they've also added...
Apart from like a few extra.
Yeah, they've also added zombies, which is like the infected, so it's like tag, or it's like infected. So one person gets tagged, they turn into a zombie, and then basically hunt down the last person that's alive. So that'd be interesting.
Interesting.
Would you add sprint as a function? Do you think sprint would make the game better or worse?
No, I think you just walk around.
You just walk around.
Isn't the imposter faster?
I thought the imposters I thought everyone's the same speed, so it's kind of like a skill thing. Versus if the imposter's faster, they kind of punish you for it.
Pretty sure they're slightly faster. Or there's like, I think it might be a toggle. It might be like a setting.
Toggle.
I think we used to play, because there were loads of settings that we used to do, and I'm pretty sure we used to have the imposter was faster.
What, so they could catch people if they messed up and needed to like...
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of gave them a bit of a chance.
Okay, that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was the news I thought you were talking about, not GTA 6. I mean, we knew the delay, but then obviously today, again, time of recording, the second trailer's come out, so... But the second trailer is like, again, I mean, yeah, it's probably hyped people up for more than a year ahead of time for some reason. But it seems to just focus generally on the story. and location. The first trailer was all about location and announcement. Second trailer is all about effectively the story and the kind of characters. There's still no gameplay. So until we see a gameplay trailer, I don't really care.
Yeah, so it seems to be like Vice City husband and wife, or like girlfriend and boyfriend, like working together to basically do odd jobs and kind of like debt collecting and stuff like that. And as you know, with GTA, it very quickly divulges into you arming a nuke and robbing trains and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And you'll somehow get involved with like the local authorities as well, which is interesting to say the least.
I mean, what are you basing this off? You basing this off the second trailer?
No, I'm basing this off GTA 5, GTA 4, GTA 3.
Oh, okay.
GTA
just making
2,
stuff up
GTA
that's
1.
in this game because you don't know. I mean, no one knows. I mean, obviously the original leaks already revealed the characters ages ago, years before they even announced the game. So there's actually nothing new at all have been announced for me because it was all leaked years ago. So until the gameplay, that's what we're waiting for, really. Yeah. I mean, even the gameplay was kind of leaked in videos from their Slack. So, yeah.
So, Ollie, obviously it's getting up to the warm summer months now. It is starting to change. The leaves are changing, and we've had a couple of people reach out. You know.
Okay.
We had a question. The question was, how do you get into game development? That was the hot topic of the conversation. And obviously, being the resident question asker of myself, and you being the resident game developer of yourself, I thought you could take me and take the questioner through how to get into game development. What would you recommend? What tools, projects, and all that sort of stuff, and then go from there.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I get this question quite often, actually, in my kind of line of work, evidently.
Okay.
Currently helping, I guess not helping, but I'm talking to someone at the moment who kind of asked me the best way, and I kind of meet up with them occasionally to see what they're working on.
Okay.
But I think, it's quite hard because you got to have some sense of a skill. So, I think, honestly, I think a lot of people want to make games, but I don't think everyone can make games. There's this idea that, everyone can code, and that's absolutely not true. I know this firsthand from teaching people for years. So, yeah. But around the negative bits, if you really, think you like a bit of programming or you've done some programming before, then that's fine. And most people need to use an engine. When I first started, I didn't. I created my own engine, which I don't recommend to anyone ever. So I would pick like one of the main engines. Now, a lot of people these days, they go flashy, let's pick Unreal Engine. And that would be incredibly the wrong choice, in my opinion, for multiple reasons. And yes, maybe eventually you might want to go there, but unless you have some incredible, you're going to be a 3D artist at the same time. Like that's, like I'm saying, if you have some pre-existing skill, this might change slightly.
Yeah.
But you are much better off starting with something like Godot or Unity, which is much more user-friendly. And, multiple people online will always say, I don't get it. There's not enough, information about this. And I don't know how to do this. And most of them span from Unreal Engine. And sure, there's loads of videos online you can watch to learn how to use Unreal Engine, but it's way too much for someone who's just started out, never made a game before. So you'd be much better off using something like Godot or Unity. Unity is probably ahead there, just generally because of the amount of information, tutorials, documentation out there. And I would my old suggestion would be go through the Unity Learn platform, but I haven't looked at that in years, so I have no idea how good it is anymore.
Yep.
And I wouldn't necessarily suggest that, but I would probably find some sort of YouTuber who does a play-by-play tutorial. Like it's there's nothing that can go wrong. Maybe they even provide a lot of the resources to do it. There's loads of stuff like this. And I would follow them exactly as they've got it. Okay. Now, what I would do is you can be creative in your own way, but do not do it at the same time as following the tutorial. Because what will happen
Okay.
is then you will start doing the tutorial and then you go off on one and be like, actually, I'm going to do this instead. And then the thing they're teaching in the tutorial much later won't work. And then you'll get stuck. You have no idea what's going on and you would have not got anywhere. So follow tutorials from start to finish without getting invested in your own ideas and stuff like that. Once you finish the tutorial and you've gone through all the steps they're trying to go through, then start messing around with it and see what you can do. Make small changes. Don't then try and change it into your own game. And then do another tutorial and then probably another one. Again, don't do too much changes. And eventually you gain confidence. Eventually you gain understanding. But there is no unlock. There's no knowledge unlock here. You've literally just got to do it and follow and try and remember how things work. And then once you've learned those things, you can do your own thing.
Yes. So follow the tutorial, do the tutorial, and then apply your own learning once you've solidified it.
Yeah, but that's going to be a different timeline for loads of people. Like,
Okay.
people still might not understand certain concepts in their first tutorial, which is why I'm suggesting doing more than one. And also just doing a range of different types of games is also good. Even games you don't play yourself. You know, I think I must have done a platformer tutorial at some stage in Unity a long time ago when I was looking at 2D stuff. But do I make platformer games? Do I play platformer games? No, absolutely not. But there's lots of elements there that are useful that could be then applied elsewhere. Or if you ever make a platformer, then you've got some knowledge.
Yeah.
You're never going to make your dream game. Don't ever think you can be doing that as well. That's another.
You never make
mistake.
a dream game full stop, or do you think there's a way to do it?
People, no. Well, I mean, yeah, but we're talking about the like 0.0001%. Everyone else, do not even think about it, because what will happen is your dream game is going to be too complicated. You won't have a clue. It probably needs to be made by multiple teams. So just don't ever go for your dream game unless unless it's the most like basic shit ever, which is unlikely, and then you can do it.
Okay, so scope creep is a big one. Make it small, make it achievable.
So when you're building your first project after these tutorials, 100% it should be a basic thing. And I'm sure you could find a tutorial for like Space Invaders or
Flappy Bird
like
or
that.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, or something like that, I'm sure. But if you want to maybe find one of those very basic games that has already been made, don't follow a tutorial and try and do it yourself once you've got some of the knowledge from other tutorials. So, open up Unity, new project. I'm going to make a Space Invaders type game today. Open up Unity. Okay, I'm going to make a 2D top-down kind of grid-based game, whatever it might be. Like very simple stuff. Games all on one screen, best thing to do first. And don't think you have to do 3D. 2D is also very acceptable.
Okay. And then how do you
Just don't
master
expect to sell it.
how do you master the graphics and music and stuff like that at the same time? Or do you just...
That is a skill. That is a skill you're going to have to learn. And, those things are not for... Like music, if you want to be an all-in-one game developer, then you'll never be good at anything. You have to be good at one thing first, really. So, but obviously the most important thing of a game really kind of is the programming.
Yep.
Because if there's no programming, there is no game. Anyone can open up some random, graphics program or download some random sprites online and use them. So that's also fine. I mean, also, there are obviously asset packs for 3D and 2D stuff you can find online. So even if you don't do art, you could easily learn how to do like environment stuff in Unity, environment artist stuff, and then drag and drop the kind of models you've downloaded from either the asset store or something else. And therefore, that's fine. Again, that's why 2D is an easier thing to start with, because pixel art, although you're never going to make, if you're not an artist, you're never going to make amazing pixel art. You can do some basic stuff. Obviously, much easier than not. Learning Blender is something that's going to take thousands of hours to get good at.
Yep.
So it's like a completely different thing, because again, you just need to be good at 3D modeling, and then you can apply that to your game engine stuff. It's kind of like for programming. If you've already got a good programming background, you're infinitely going to be ahead of everyone else who has no idea what they're doing when they first start Unity.
Yep, no, exactly. So pick a focus, work on the focus, such as programming. basically find free/pay for some assets if required, not fundamentally required, and then start making your game from there, following tutorials, and then go off that boat.
Yeah, and also in some way, like I said, you don't have to be a master of everything. You know, one of the things you could easily do is find someone else who wants to make games, but they're an artist and you're the programmer.
Yep.
Or you're an artist and find a programmer. You know, these kind of things, how teams are made, and you might be much better off doing that kind of stuff. You know, in a normal company, you know, big game development studio, no one is doing all the jobs. They're doing one job.
Yep.
So, you know, ultimately you might want to just get good at one thing and then find other people to build your ideas around.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can take that approach to other things, right? Like if you want to do a comic, you have your writer, you have your artist. If you take the film, you have like a director, you have your photographer, you have like your editor and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's very rarely you're a one-man/woman one-stop shop.
Yeah, and also I know people like look online and they'll be like, "Oh my god, this game was made by one person." And again, if you look at the percentage of games that succeed when there's one person, it's extremely small. So it's best not to think you're going to be one of those people.
Ollie, there's a controversy. There's news has hit the internet, and I don't know why this has come back up, but I would love your hot take here. Are you ready?
Okay.
You ready for this question? I want you to sit down. I want you to get into the right mind. I want you to lock in.
Standing, but yeah.
I want you to focus in. 100 men or one gorilla?
I'm not answering this question.
Why are you not answering this question?
I'm not answering this one. This is one of those questions which I need to take a sip of tea just to refresh my you know,
to get rid of the salt that's built up in your mouth.
Yeah, what the hell? Like, I don't know why people find that. The thing is, it's not even like a new question. Like, it's an old question that's suddenly come back. Like,
yeah, but
no
it's
one
like
cares.
it's a tale as old as time. It's like, if a tree falls in the forest, doesn't make a sound if no one's there to hear it? Like, everyone wants to know.
I mean, I would rather you ask me that question than this stupid gorilla question.
Well, once we cover the gorilla question, Ollie, you can then answer the other question, you know?
No, you only get one question.
Okay, 100 men versus one gorilla, one silverback gorilla. What is it?
I mean, I'm not answering this question because it's a stupid question. Because the guy, you just need one guy with a gun, dead.
I think it's just like 100 men as they are, and one gorilla as he is.
Why? Why does it have to be like that?
Because it just says 100 men versus one gorilla. It doesn't say 99 men and one man with a gun versus one gorilla, you know?
I mean, a gorilla. I mean, the thing is, this is such a stupid question because you could have like these 100 people. Okay, are they strong? Are they weak? You know, are they? You know, do they have sharp nails? You know, because the gorilla obviously is just going to be able to. You could easily, I think, just hit them with their arm and probably kill them in one go.
Yeah,
each person. Like if they have a perfect hit each time.
Yep.
Okay. It's a ridiculous question. Like, I don't know. And also, do you know what the percentage of people who, if you look at statistics, how many people have been killed by gorillas, do you think, in the last 10 years?
Like 20?
None. No one's died to a gorilla in the last 20 years.
Do
you know how many gorillas have died to humans?
Well, humans normally have guns in that case. Like if we're looking at
exactly.
Greatest loss of our time.
Forgetting that. Well, we'll move on from the thing that you're referring to because I again refuse to go back. I don't know how many years to talk about
11.
The end. It was the start of the apocalypse when that happened.
True.
So anyway, yeah, gorillas have died.
I think we just need your answer.
Died to a gorilla this year.
We just need your answer.
So statistically, it will be the humans because if you look at statistics.
So you're saying 100 men will beat a gorilla?
I'm telling you, based on statistics, that is factual.
Okay. I mean, do these statistics also account for like whether or not the human was using like a weapon or if he just like bare-fisted the gorilla and stuff like that?
Matter. I mean, you're now changing the question because your original question was one gorilla versus 100 men.
Yeah.
That was the question.
Yeah.
There was like, there's no limitations.
I didn't
based
stipulate
on
whether or not
question.
they were armed men. I just said they were 100 men.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
if I was to teleport you out of your house right now into the forest of 99 men and there was a single gorilla behind a glass wall and they opened the wall, do you think you guys could kill the gorilla together?
Do you know, I don't think the gorilla's going to attack because guess what? They don't because statistically they don't. So we're fine.
So you're going down the approach of together men strong, breaks twigs. versus Gorilla Week.
I'm not going this stupid, whatever you're doing now. I don't know what this is, but I'm telling you my answer, and that's my final
Look,
answer.
I think people want to know what is your answer. That's it. So you think 100 men versus one gorilla? If you think that's the answer, that's fine.
I'm telling you one man. I'm telling you one man versus one gorilla based on statistics as well. It
One
doesn't matter
man
how many
versus
men there are.
your chain. Oh my god. Okay.
It probably actually, do you know, it's probably the less likelihood the gorilla dies based on how many men there are, because people would take too long discussing on the legality or the morals of doing this whole battle anyway. You know, humans are stupid. If there's more of them, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, so 100, I don't know. Probably no one's a winner at that point.
Okay, so everyone, Ollie's hot take is one man beats.
It's not a hot take. It's not a hot take.
It's a hot take.
It's just statistics.
You're right. It's steaming cold.
It's a normal take of a reasonable person.
Okay. We'll see what the audience has to say about this.
Right, Tristan. It's May. We're nearly halfway through the year, and I want to know what your biggest flop of 2025 is so far.
My biggest flop. What, in terms of gaming or just life?
I mean, we'll go with gaming.
Okay,
I want to hear about your life personally, but I was kind of thinking about gaming. Yeah,
gaming wise, I'm having to have a look through my gaming library. Like, I recently just switched computers, so my library's looking a little bit like empty and a little bit devoid of stuff. I'd probably say the biggest flop I've experienced so far that's been painful to me was the optimization for Monster Hunter Wilds, honestly.
What does that mean?
It basically, like, it runs like absolute trash. Like, it is not a smooth game. It's very jittery. It's very painful. It's been a painful one. I was really looking forward to it. I need to wait to buy new graphics cards before I move on with that.
But what's their minimum requirements on their Steam store page?
The store page. Let's have a look.
Surely, if you're under the minimum, there's kind of room for.
No, I meet the minimum, which is the annoying thing.
I think the problem is, though, people get really tied up on this. People don't understand what game optimization is, which annoys me to no end. Because, yes, I'm sure many developers could do better. I mean, we've seen some of the download sizes of some of these games.
Yes.
But at the same time, people like complain about some optimization. I'm like, I don't think they realize what exactly this means, because they're like, I want to play on max graphics, but there's not optimization. Well, yeah. I'm sorry, but the entire point is not to have optimization on whatever max settings you've got. It's the least optimal. The whole point is not to have. If you want to play on ultra or whatever they call it these days in games, whatever game you're playing, do not expect major optimization, especially in art graphics, because you've got the highest fidelity they're providing you with. Okay, and that's where people seem to get tied up massively. And there's some game programming optimization that can be done. Okay, that's where we should be talking. And if you're low graphics, so if a game releases with no graphics settings, that's a problem. Obviously, there is no graphics optimizations, understandable. But if the problem is people don't really see code and they don't understand code, so they have no clue what optimization means anyway for code. But in generally multiplayer stuff, there's a lot of packet optimization that can be done. There's a lot of data that doesn't have to be sent. How often it's sent. Physics updates, there's a lot of stuff like that can be done. But people only care about graphics optimization because that's what they understand. And if they're a little bit more technical, they understand, occlusion and stuff like that. When you're not looking at a model, it shouldn't be rendering. I mean, this is kind of simple stuff that's in a game engine anyway. But if for some reason they've turned that off or it doesn't exist, then I can completely understand them saying, why isn't this a thing? But you have to kind of break certain things in order to be able to see why it's not in the game. So I think, if you were saying what optimization, are you saying their graphics? Are you playing on the lowest graphics setting?
Yes,
or
I'm playing I'm playing on the lowest graphics setting. It's set to performance, and it is tanky and jittery and painful.
And is this a GPU limited thing or a CPU?
GPU.
how sure of you then that? Because
I'm pretty
sometimes,
sure.
often,
I did check.
the lack of CPU can not. I'm not saying
My-
your CPU can't take it, but
Oh,
if the
okay.
game's optimization of the code can have a massive effect over the graphics, no matter
So
on the thing.
my ceiling for my CPU is like very, very high. I picked like an equivalent of like an i9 CPU. It's running absolutely beautifully. Everything else runs beautifully, max fidelity. Like Tarkov actually runs to like stupidly high graphics now, which is great. It just seems to be Monster Hunter WoWs, and that is the feedback on the entire Reddit and kind of community, which is the graphics aren't optimized unless you're running like a 5090 with like water cooling. It basically is like difficult to play.
I'm confused how their lowest graphic setting still has this issue.
No, I completely agree. And apparently, it's like for PlayStation and Xbox, it runs completely fine. It is purely a PC issue, which is, I think, half the issue with the community at the moment.
Therefore, that doesn't really sound. Well, then that doesn't sound like a GPU issue. That does sound like a CPU, something more integral to the engine if it's only on PC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that was my biggest flop of the year. What's been your biggest flop of the year?
Yes. What is my biggest flop of the year? I mean, I think my biggest flop of the year might be. This is a hard one because I don't really necessarily have like a biggest flop of the year so far.
Okay.
I have. How can I put this? I have thoughts on the current. How actually? Do you know what? I think the biggest flop of the year is the amount of games that are releasing.
I mean,
And
it's a
let me
good
back this
year
up.
for games.
So there's too many games. No, you've misunderstood. I'm talking about too many games releasing. There's too many games releasing this year for people to enjoy all of them.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's a
And
time
the reason for
constraint.
this is because all these games that would have been released over the last couple of years were delayed because of COVID and taking longer, issues with teams, funding, that kind of stuff. And it's just ended up in this year. I think we're going to really struggle with people being able to play all the games they want to and enjoy.
Yep.
And what's the biggest flop really is that people all want these big AAA games, but actually the games that are selling well and people are playing are the indie games.
I completely agree.
In reality, people have too many games they want to play that are AAA. They're all fighting against each other, and the indie scene is popping off again. So I think AAA games are the biggest flop of this year so far.
Okay, that's an interesting take. I like it. Okay, interesting. Do you think?
And the Sims, whatever Sims game they're making next, is also biggest flop because they've already messed it up already.
Damn, Ollie. I think we've talked about this in the past. I think modding has now started to surpass and supplement gameplay as a engine itself. Not an engine. That's probably poor terminology, and you'll correct me on that horribly, and I'll get beaten. Modding now has become such a fundamental aspect of games to the point where studios are now supporting it. Have you heard about Space Marine 2? Your favorite game?
I have heard of the game Space Marine 2.
Okay.
But I'm surprised that they allow modding because isn't it a multiplayer server game?
It is a multiplayer server game, but the modding is purely for the PvE aspect.
Right, okay.
So basically, there's a mod called, I think it's the Starties Overhaul, but there's two mods that have come out recently. One is a mod that adds 12-player co-op, even though they announced that it was only able to do 3-player co-op. And they've also announced a Starties Overhaul, which is a mod that brings Terminators, Embassy Dreadnoughts to operations and 12-player lobbies. Okay, it's all the same thing. Yeah, basically a bunch of mods have come together. One of them's like quite a famous developer, actually. They've basically pulled it all together, got 12-player working, and have completely changed the face of the game to the point where the studio is now actually helping them out with any information or details they require as well. It's quite cool, actually. What are your thoughts on this?
I feel like you opened this up as a problem.
I think it depends how you view it, right? Everything is either a nail or everything's either a hammer. If you want to look at this as a problem, you can look at it as a nail. But I'm just saying, I think it's cool.
I don't think anyone's looking at modding as a problem. Are you looking at modding as a
I'm
problem?
not looking at modding as a problem. I'm just saying it's very cool
I
that
don't think
modding has
anyone-
now taken
no.
over the aspect of this.
Yeah, but this is game. Every game has this. Every game is, people always try and mod it. I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
this is like a significant mod now. Like it went from 3-player co-op to 12-player co-op.
Yeah, but that's happened in so many games that come out in the last year. I mean, all the biggest, think about the biggest modding scene that started in the last year, Lethal Company, and all the games that followed it. That created a huge thing. In fact, Lethal Company is now just supported by mods. But, that's easily raised the number. Look at games that we've played on the channel. Content warning. Again, quickest mod to ever come out, raised the number of people playing. Other mods, Schedule 1, more people. What else? The new RuneScape Dragon Wilds, more people. It's always the first mod to come out to raise it. It's a normal. I mean, I don't see it as a big deal, probably because I know of all these other mods and other games that literally do the same thing. But people always try and raise it so that more people can do it, because more people, more fun is the general thought. But I don't know what other mods there are for Space Marine. But
There's a couple.
ultimately, it's probably not that big, the scene. So I would have thought for a game like that, it's probably quite locked down. But yeah, if the studios are supporting it, then that's good, because it means they don't have to make anything. But also, didn't they just say they're already trying to make Space Marine 3?
Yes,
even
they
though,
are.
The cycle of Space Marine 2's not been done yet. I mean, that's a bit of a rookie move in my thought. But
I think they've been greenlit for it now. I thought that was my interpretation. Not they've started work on it.
Yeah, but why are they telling people this?
Well, I think Space Marine 2 did very well. It had a lot of hype to it and stuff like that. Yeah.
As soon as you tell people there's another one coming, you're going to have less sales of the thing you've just released.
Okay, that's an interesting way to view it.
If you said to me, let's play Space Marine 2 to me in a month's time, I'd be like, why bother? I'm not buying a game that's going to be replaced by another one.
I can see where you're coming from, but I think Space Marine 2 has quite a lot of oomph to it, and I would say it's almost worth doing it. But I see your point.
Surely, surely the whole point is 3's meant to have more oomph. That's why they're making another one.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But the thing is, like, if you're not going to release your own updates, then you need to accept modding, because that's how you're going to gain a lot of people. Because also, again, let's just go back to Lethal Company, which we seem to talk about every single podcast. Anyway, if there weren't the mod scene, I think that game would have died a lot sooner.
Yes, because I don't think there was much depth to it, right?
I mean, no, let's not get it wrong. There was obviously depth to it, and people could keep going. And he did make his own updates for the game, but he hasn't made an update in a long time. And people are still making mods for that game. And all the things you see online, funny moments or whatever now about Lethal Company, absolutely all modding, all modded stuff. People only watch modded stuff now. I don't think anyone's going to watch any vanilla playthroughs if people do it. People expect to see modded stuff. So, but the thing is, Unity game, very easy to mod. Unreal Engine games, not easy to mod. So, it depends how you build your Unity game. You can obfuscate the code with a different compiler. This is a bit too technical for people, but basically not every Unity game. I just wanted to correct myself there. But the default is that it's very moddable for people. You don't even, as a developer, someone else can do a DLL for you, and it's sorted. So it's quite easy. But yeah, I mean, games, unless the game's hosted somewhere online in a multiplayer system and having any sort of mods or plugins effectively is like a cheat, then people should be able to do what they want to their games. Yeah,
like single player experiences, stuff like that. Like I do, as you know, I'm playing a game called, I like playing a game called Phantom Brigade. It's very relaxing, very calm. And the modding scene is quite big for it.
I don't know this. I've never heard of this game. But anyway, you keep going.
Oh, okay. You can probably guess what type of game Phantom Brigade is, knowing me. But
yes, I can.
It's very, very good. It's very enjoyable. But the modding community is absolutely amazing on it. They've introduced new bodies, new chassis, and other things to it as well. It's a beautiful game. But no, I just think it's good. I like the fact developers are
recent reviews.
Don't do this.
Mixed.
No.
Just for the people listening
this is on
at
the
home,
podcast.
every time every time Tristan tells me any sort of game, I instantly go to find out what its reviews were, and more often than not, it's probably nearly 80%. It's always mixed or lower.
May I point out, I did call out Space Marine 2 would do well, and it did phenomenally well.
You picked a AAA game.
Oh,
I mean,
why is it? Okay, to be fair, 20 reviews. What the fuck is this?
that's recent reviews. If you look
but
at all times reviews, it's mostly positive. So clearly they've done something to the game to make it worse. But then when I was buying a game and I looked at recent reviews, mixed, I'd go, they've clearly changed something, or people are unhappy, or they're not updating enough. And then I'll go to the reviews, and first review I just read, the game doesn't feel satisfying to play.
I just think people are fucking idiots for this. I'm reading the review. Oh, I played 3 hours. What?
Sadly, a frustrating experience in the long run. There we go.
That's 55
hours,
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'll give him. No, my favorite is the game is pretty great, and then you scroll down to the bottom. It's like, I can't even make it out the tutorial, and it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't play the game then. Like it is like a little bit of a punishing hard game. It is like Mech Warrior meets like what's the fuck is it called? Armored Core meets XCOM. Like, it's lovely, it's good, but most of the reviews are pretty positive. It's just like, there you go, 131 hours. There's finally been some activity from devs, patches that clean up a lot of bugs. Yeah, like it's a good game. I'd recommend playing the game if you want to read like 20 reviews out of how many reviews? Like, what was it?
2,980.
Yeah, if you want to read like 1% of the reviews and now claim it's mixed versus mostly positive, I think it's like pretty poor, honestly. But
That's how it works. That's how reviews work on Steam.
Well, no, the way we've always talked about the way the reviews work is the review should go off the first thing. There should be iterative reviews afterwards.
We always talk about this, and we always disagree. So it's
a moot point.
we won't go. But we're not doing this argument again anyway. But this a discussion, heavy discussion. We're not doing this heavy discussion again.
Passionate discussion.
But, yeah, I mean, like, I could say the same thing about Final Fantasy Online. Like, in some way, they've completely messed up the latest expansion, and they're trying to fix it for sure.
Okay,
but you know, I would have thought the latest reviews are not good. But then if you look, I know actually they're still very positive somehow. But
that's because people are addicted to it like crack.
That's because people never make it to the latest expansion.
They're still trying to get through a Realm Reborn. It's like, I can never escape. I've got 12 characters and they've got 12 classes each, but I can't get out of Realm Reborn.
Talking about you though, you've never got out of Realm Reborn either.
I am the demographic. Yeah,
you are. Yeah. Anyway, biggest flop is AAA games this year so far.
Ollie, it's getting to your favorite time again. I can feel the sweat beading off your brow. Do you know what time it is, Ollie?
I thought we were doing a different topic.
No, I'm going to force you into the game random word generator topic.
We're just doing it now, were we? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right. Are you ready?
Well, hold on. I just want to again. I prefaced the start of the podcast with this, and I'll just like this now. Is that I don't make these words. Okay, I'm giving them. Okay, and I will say I delivered the best idea for the word I was given last week. In fact, I've done that every week. So
brainwashing was weak.
We'll find out if I do it again this
brainwashing
week.
was weak.
Just hold on. I
Fairy tales were strong.
I want a new word. Yeah, I mean that's because you gave me a different word. I mean, obviously it's going to be easier. Anyway, let's find out what this week's is.
I'll make it interesting, Ollie. I know you like to gamble in video games, so I'll make this a gambling adventure for you, if you so choose.
Do I get a re-roll if people vote for it?
So
if can I re-roll tokens? I can.
So you get 3 tokens per podcast.
Okay. Per podcast.
Yeah. So I'll give you a word. If you don't like the word, you get to use the token. Right.
Right.
If you use the token, you re-roll the word. You then have to use that word. You can't go back a word.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I want to skip it. Isn't the whole point of re-rolling?
Okay, so you only get 3 re-rolls. Okay.
I was talking about earning these tokens, but if you're just going to give me 3, then hell yeah. Let's go
I can give you 12 per year.
Okay, let's go 12 per year. Let's do that.
Okay.
But you have to keep track.
That's fine. I will keep track of it. So you, Ollie, you only have 7 tokens for the rest of the year now.
What?
Yep.
You said I had 12 a year.
Yeah. We're like 5 months into the year. I'm giving you 7 tokens.
You're back. But I never re-rolled the other ones. I'm back. Okay, fine. 7.
Unfortunately.
Fine.
So you get 7 tokens, right?
Okay.
New tracker, add it in. Right. You've got 7 tokens. Here is your word. Are you ready?
I mean, no, but go for it anyway.
Diplomat.
Okay. I mean, right. Okay. I think the best thing to start with this. Now, normally I say this is the worst way to do it. Okay. But I think it's with the gameplay, right?
Okay.
So it's a spy game. Okay.
Right.
And what it is that you have to effectively be like a diplomat, obviously political diplomat.
Yep.
But you're actually spying on the country you're the diplomat on, right? Okay, so
wait. So if you're a diplomat of England and you're in the US,
okay, yeah, I'm spying on the US.
Okay, just double checking that one.
Yeah. So I'm actually a spy. So, but I've got to do things in the game that doesn't alert people that I'm actually stealing information or changing information for other people like that. So we'll call it first person. Why not? Okay.
Okay, interesting.
And, basically, it's a multiplayer game.
Okay.
And you have you don't know who's on what team. Okay. You're all diplomats, right? But you're effectively given, like a role. So you could be a spy or you're a diplomat. Okay. Now the spy's job is to basically look like a diplomat, do the same jobs that the diplomats have to go to meetings. There's all voice chat and stuff like that. So, you can get messages from people, you go to meetings, you go to functions.
So you do tasks.
Yeah, you do tasks effectively, but obviously they're all based around what like diplomats do. Okay. And when I said everyone's a diplomat, I actually think there should be some people who aren't diplomats. They're effectively like Secret Service, effectively.
Why didn't you have this
and
to like
Secret
Service's
job? I thought this was my game.
No, I need to
finish the brief first. I need to finish the brief, and then we can start questioning. And it's the Secret Service's people's job to eventually work out who is the spy.
Okay.
So the spy is obviously trying to, do stuff to the whatever country it is, but also maybe to other countries as well. So the other diplomats also are taking part because they want to obviously fulfill tasks to show they are a normal diplomat. This isn't this. But then they also want to make sure that if they spot anyone who's being a spy, they report it to the Secret Service, who make the ultimate decision on who to shoot.
Okay.
We're saying, yeah.
Okay, so it's a bit like Mafia. So you've got like your spies, your villagers, and your kind of like police sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, but I think in total there's two. It depends how many people there are in the lobby. I mean, if you've got like 12 people, I think you could easily have 2 spies and 2 secret police. I think.
So can the spies do stuff to like kill the secret police, or is it all down to like votes, or is it down to like
they can kill off other diplomats, but they can't kill the secret police.
Okay, but
they could like poison. But they can't they can't just shoot someone. They have to like poison their food or stuff like that, basically.
Oh, okay. So is it kind of like you don't know who the secret police are, you don't know who the diplomats are, you don't know who the spies are. Sorry, you don't know who the spies
and the secret police are, but you don't know who the other diplomats or spies are. So the secret police are quite evident there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can like, you also have to like, arrange meetings with the secret police. They might like interview people, to ask them what they've been doing, who they've been meeting with.
Okay.
If one of the diplomats suspects another diplomat as being a spy, they can report it, and then they'll meet with secret police, and the secret police might just be generally going around and investigating if there's like a murder, with poisoning or stuff like that, basically.
So could the spies also like plant evidence? So let's say we're playing as a group of 4. I'm a diplomat, you're a secret police. Sorry, I'm a spy.
I think it has to be more than 4 people. There has to be way more than 4 people for this game to work.
Okay,
it has to be minimum 8, I think.
Could I
Max lobby is minimum 8, I think up to 16. 8 to 16 people is the ideal.
Okay, so could I plant incriminating evidence in other diplomats and also upload files on the computer and stuff like that?
But those are your spy. Yeah, so you as a spy,
yeah,
you obviously get listed what you you have to still be a diplomat. You're still a diplomat even
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
spy, right? But you also have additional tasks you've got to fulfill.
Okay.
So it could be, you know, upload this file on this diplomat's computer, okay? And then you have to sit there waiting for it to upload, then remove the USB stick and stuff like that, for example.
Yep.
But then if you accidentally leave the USB stick behind, the secret police, if they know you've done that and they find the USB stick, they could maybe fingerprint and, you know, stuff like that, maybe. So you've got to like trying to cover your tracks as well.
Yep.
So poisoning. But also at the same time, the diplomats are like organizing like trade deals and stuff like that. So you as the spy can lose, one, if you're found out to be the spy, but also if you know, you're not doing your diplomatic duties, because the diplomats who do the most like work and go to the meetings, arrange deals, stuff like that, they mark it on their UI, or you know, they sign fake contracts with stuff, and they get like a bonus score. So with the diplomats, if you're a spy, any diplomat whose like score goes below, effectively you're losing because you're not doing your diplomat job well enough. So a spy has to balance both, basically.
Okay, I like it.
Because obviously, if you're not balancing both, you probably look more like a spy because you're not fulfilling your spy. You're not fulfilling diplomatic tasks.
Yeah. So you got to balance both out to try and get it working.
Exactly. You've still got to go to stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
And you'll have like time limits to do certain tasks. Like every 10 minutes, you have to have done a spy task amongst your diplomatic ones, basically.
Okay.
Otherwise, you lose because obviously your country fires you or whatever.
I like it. Like there's a lot of legs here, and it can grow quite well. So I quite like this. Like holistically as an idea, it's got a lot of potential to kind of grow. Would you add any like legacy features? So like if you play multiple games, like different countries change different things, or
Well, I mean, it's all procedural. So you as a country, you get some. They're all fake countries as well. I would have thought. Maybe actually, do you know what? Maybe they're all real countries just to make things easier for people to understand. Sometimes when you add fake countries, I mean,
you think the fake countries are easy to spy?
Yes. No. I mean, they're all fake countries, so they're like all made up names. It's the same like Yes, Comrade, the game working on that. All the countries are fake, so they're all like generated names and random each time you play. But you could just easily have that with normal country names, and it doesn't really matter, because every country will have fake diplomats as spies. So you just got to find the right one.
I like
in
it.
real life. I'm talking about. So I think that's the main thing.
Would it also include a lot of like RP aspects to it? So you could play the game, but you'd have to like RP quite heavily. So
If
you're secret police, you go around, you cuff people.
I wouldn't. Well, I thought with like voice chat is what you're talking about, but I mean, why would you cuff random diplomats? I think that's illegal.
No, like you could. Sorry, you could coerce them into like a interrogation room and then interrogate them.
No, you can ask them You can ask them to come to the secret service office or something like that to interview them, or take them to interview. Like I said, that's all good. But obviously, if a diplomat's like, no, I'm not coming, then that could look very suspicious because obviously you don't want that. So yeah, the kind of RP aspects are that built-in voice chat. You have to go to meetings. The meetings, you have your actual negotiations with people. So like I said, you actually have like a UI where you organize trade deals with people. You know, and you'll be given these kind of diplomatic tasks, which say you need to have organize a trade deal with this country, and you need to make sure that you, you know, come out with this, or you lower the tariff on this, for example.
Yep.
So that's kind of the tasks. But it could just be, you know, go to drinks, just open this, you know, French deli if you were France, for example. You know, that kind of stuff. So
so it'd be like Wider's house wouldn't be just like purely political. It'd be like you'd go out.
No. It's like kind of like a politician-esque kind of thing.
So you'd almost have it like a little like mini UN city thing, like go cut this ribbon. You'd go cut the ribbon and all that sort of stuff. And
yeah, I think a lot of it, like you have like a outside world. It doesn't need to be massive, but you go around there. It could really be like like 4 blocks in total, 4 buildings. And, you know, you've got a road around the outside, a cross in the middle where there's like a green grass area, like a park. But there's buildings you go to where you have the meetings, but it's not like expansive buildings. They're like, you know, each has an embassy, which you can go to. And also there's a few like non-embassy buildings, which are where the kind of middle neutral stuff happens.
do you think there'd be enough time to how long would the games last in your opinion? Like 20 minutes to 30 minutes, or
No. I think, well, I mean, it's obviously how quickly the spy has, but I think if I said the spy has to do something every 10 minutes, I think like 40 minutes to an hour per round is pretty good for it. If you got
what happens if you
16
die
people,
early though?
it's gonna be worth it. Well, then you leave the game and you can go join a different lobby.
Okay, but what happens if it's like a group of friends playing that? That'd be
Then
only
you can just
caveat.
watch. You can watch everyone else's meeting and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like when you say die, I mean that being being poisoned, right, by like the spy. In
Yep.
some way, that's kind of how.
Or the secret police like get the wrong person.
Well, I think if the secret police get the wrong person, in some way they could, like I said, we said shooting, but it could just be locked up and then you're released. I'm like, there could be a respawn system for people who aren't killed by the spy.
Oh, I see.
You know.
So I think your idea of doing a task every 10 minutes is better then, because if you lock someone up, after like 5 minutes, you'll be like, oh, the task hasn't been done. Or like maybe I have to do a task every 5 minutes because it's less painful. At least at that point, you can then swap someone out and let them go again versus if you kill them. That's it. They're just kind of sat there dead.
But I think, the game, people want to do big rounds, then yeah, you want to, but you also, in a lot of the games, if you die, you're just literally stuck there waiting for the next round. Like,
Yeah, no, I agree. But like a 40-minute game is like a little bit long in my opinion.
That's kind of, I think that's the nature of the game. I don't think you can have a game as we've just discussed. You'd have to like really limit, like, because I don't think, I think you want, like I said, this is a very role play game. You've got to be able to fulfill your role. So in this sense, I feel like you've got to have the time. Otherwise, there's no point. There's no depth to the game if you have no time.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough then.
So it's a balance. So I mean, yeah, half an hour maybe, but I think it depends on the spy. And if the spy does 3 tasks, 10 minutes each one, 30 minutes is probably a good one, maybe, with 5 minutes at the beginning to kind of not put them under any pressure.
Or maybe you can just change the settings to like more tasks and less time, or vice versa. But
I'm sure. Yeah, you just set it how for your lobby. But yeah, for like maybe a public lobby, which anyone could still edit, I guess, if they open up the lobby, then yeah, 30 minutes is maybe 30, 40 minutes. And then, it's up to the spy to complete 3 tasks amongst their other diplomacy tasks, because they want to do other diplomacy tasks as well. They're not just constantly doing the spy stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the end of the podcast, Tristan. We've spoken a lot about There Are No Good Games, obviously, the failure of games, the creation of another amazing game this week, just like last week and every week before it. What's your takeaway from this week?
My takeaway from this week. Indie games are still better than AAA games,
That's a truth. That's a truth I can get on behind. Yeah. So this week, if you have strong opinions, just like Tristan and myself, then you can email podcasts@dungeoneers.tv and you can let us know, or you can comment on the platform you're listening or watching this on. That's been us, and we'll see you next time.